Baba Shu, the correctional officer, born in Accra, Ghana, a Quranic researcher and a critical thinker based on religion, who does online lectures based on the guidance of the Quran on platforms such as Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok since 2018. In Finland, and 13 years, QBE, in Classical Arabic and MSA in Quranic Arabic. The author of the Refer to the Quran, which helps every novice to understand the steps towards understanding the great Quran and the guidance of God in it.
Time to rise and meet the challenge. Baba Shu is calling you out. Meet Baba Shu, a correctional officer with a mission. Today he's throwing down the gauntlet to the mushriks, no more holding back. With his logo shirt and cap, Baba Shu sits tall and confident. He says, the time for action is now. It's time to rise, to push past limits, and to become the best versions of ourselves. Baba Shu believes in the power of determination and resilience. His challenge is simple. Stand up, face your fears, and conquer them. Every day is a new opportunity, he says. An opportunity to grow stronger, to be better, and to leave a mark on the world. So, are you ready to accept Baba Shu's challenge? Are you ready to rise above and beyond? Join Baba Shu and let's show the world what we're made of, because the only limit is the one you set for yourself. Time to rise and meet the challenge. Baba Shu is calling you out. Meet Baba Shu, a correctional officer with a mission. Today he's throwing down the gauntlet to the mushriks, no more holding back. With his logo shirt and cap, Baba Shu sits tall and confident. He says, the time for action is now. It's time to rise, to push past limits, and to become the best versions of ourselves. Baba Shu believes in the power of determination and resilience. His challenge is simple. Stand up, face your fears, and conquer them. Every day is a new opportunity, he says. An opportunity to grow stronger, to be better, and to leave a mark on the world. So, are you ready to accept Baba Shu's challenge? Are you ready to rise above and beyond? Join Baba Shu and let's show the world what we're made of, because the only limit is the one you set for yourself.
Right, the topic is going to be interesting, but before we go again, let's go and play. I don't know if the guy is a lesbian, is a gay, is homosexual, what is he? I don't know. So he says he like, this is how to look like the prophet. So let me pray.
Why I look like this? Today I'm going to teach you how to look like the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Trim your mustache and grow your beard. Some people keep this part, that's fine. If you want to trim that, that's okay as well. And grow your beard out, make it wide and thick. The Prophet ﷺ had a wide beard that covered part of his chest. Some people, they narrow it down like a needle. Don't do that. That's not part of the sunnah. Your hair parted in the middle. The Prophet ﷺ parted his hair evenly in the middle, and then he stuck his hair behind his ears. Subhanallah. Beautiful man. So that his two ears, they say they were bright and they shined like the moon. When it got down to his shoulders, he used to braid it. So if your hair is down to your shoulders, then you can braid it as well. Another thing he used to do was use kohl in his eyes. As you can see, my eyes have kohl. It wasn't only on Fridays or when he was about to sleep, but it was also on a regular basis because the climate was hot and it was sunny. So in the summer, you could practice that as well. Of course, I don't do it justice because he was a trillion times more beautiful than me. But this is the manliest, most beautiful, and most clean way to look for a man, as it's following the sunnah. Nothing is better than following the sunnah. So let's all follow the sunnah and smile at sunnah.
God have mercy upon us.
You know, these are the people who have taken Islam as a joke, right? He kept on using the word beautiful, and he says the prophet was more trillion times beautiful than him. Then I wonder how much the homosexual people will have been chasing the prophet around. Seriously, like, You saw how the guy was trying to beautify himself like a homosexual. He keep on saying, you have to look like this, like the prophet. Then how come we don't have his picture, for God's sake? They should have put his picture around. What kind of madness are these people speaking about? Right? What kind of madness is this kind of, like, what is wrong with them? And these guys who slander the prophet, they will lie against him. They will say all this gibberish. Can you imagine the prophet having all the day and time putting on makeup like he is Nicki Minaj or Beyonce or who? Jennifer Lopez? Why? Why? You just ask this guy how many hours it took him to do all this dress up, saying he left the lie on the head and he put the hair on this side. What, are you gay? Like, it made me remember the guy from Uganda. Why are you gay? You are actually setting up for yourself, especially in this generation. You are nothing but gay. Why? Huh? Oh. Why should a man, he keep using the word beautiful? Assuming if he even used the word handsome, I would say, look how you beautify yourself like this thing. Oh. And he says it's part of the Sunnah. Do you think God needs your makeup for what? What does God need your makeup for? Well, he says Sunnah. What's Sunnah? These guys, even any foolishness you come out with, you say it's Sunnah. Every foolishness you find in this garbage book, you say it's Sunnah. I don't understand how you make up the Sunnah. Oh, let's go to a more serious note. So I somebody sent me a video of a group. They say it's Ashar Sheikhs of Al Azhar, of Al Azhar. They were praying facing the cross.
العنده الجاية احنا كلنا المفروض نتحرك في حتة واحدة.
Now, this video I just played has to do with, they said it's this Al Azhar, they say Ashari's sheikh was praying it says in a church turned into a mosque. So there was the cross of Jesus in front of him, and he was actually praying facing the cross. Like, why doesn't he go and face and like somewhere else? Why must it be exactly on the spot of the cross? Why? What is wrong? I don't understand. What is wrong with people, seriously, in the head, right? And the people were actually recording, and seriously. So the cross of Jesus was made, and he was praying facing the cross. Yeah. So this is how they do their things. And then when you go and confront them, then they go and quote the garbage books again and tell you, oh, the prophet did this, he did that, so we are also doing it. Anything that those comedy books say, they will do it. Anything, as a matter of fact, they will do it. As long as it's coming from the comedy book, they are okay with it. So, ladies and gentlemen, we go on with the topic of today. So let's go on. I played a video from these sectarians, and let's deal with the video at hand. There is a video from this guy. Our first target is a Shia scholar. It's a Shia scholar. So this is what the Shia scholar says.
Why are you Shia? Tell them it's because of 555. Surah Al-Ma'idah, verse 55. Allah tells you who your guardians are. Innama. Innama in Arabic is adatu hasran. It's a restrictive phrase which means only. Innama waliyukumullah. Allah is your guardian. You follow Allah unconditionally. Who else? وَرَسُولُهُ, and his messenger. He's your guardian in all matters, religion, world, everything. Rasulullah is your guide and guardian. And who's the third one? وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا, those who believe. Ya Quran, tell me, who are those beliefs? Who believe? It can apply to anyone who is a believer. No, the Quran gives you specific descriptions. وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا الَّذِينَ يُقِيمُونَ الصَّلَاةَ وَيُؤْتُونَ الزَّكَاةَ وَهُمْ رَاكِعُونَ. They are those who gave the zakat in the state of ruku'. And when you analyze history, this happened with Amir al-Mu'mineen, Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, when he extended his hand to give that act of charity to the poor person. The Imam was in Nafila prayer, in Mustahab prayer. The man came. He didn't want to be delayed. Please give me something. The Imam just extended his hand and he gave him his ring. He is my Imam who has that guardianship. That's why I'm a Shia.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Guys, this is a Shia Imam, another Imam. Let me confirm his name. His name is Sayyid Muhammad Bakhari Kazwini. Kazwini. That is Sayyid Muhammad Bakhari Bakir Kazwini. Right? That is his name. These are some of the gibberish they keep telling people, and when they quote one verse out of context, then they will bring their whims and desires, and then they will just make up things, and then people will assume these things are from the Quran. So I'll tell you what, when you go to Quran chapter 3 verse 78, God says, وَإِنَّ مِنْهُمْ لَفَرِيقًا يَلْؤُونَ أَلْسِنَتَهُمْ بِالْكِتَابِ لِتَحْسَبُوهُ مِنَ الْكِتَابِ وَمَا هُوَ مِنَ الْكِتَابِ وَيَقُولُونَ هُوَ مِنْ عِنْدِ اللَّهِ وَمَا هُوَ مِنْ عِنْدِ اللَّهِ وَيَقُولُونَ عَلَى اللَّهِ الْكَذِبَ وَهُمْ يَعْلَمُونَ. So this verse applies to the people of the book, what they did. But the people of the book of today, the Sunni, the Shia, the Tijaniya, Ahmadiyya, Kadbandiya, you mention anything, they do the same thing. They twist the words of God, and they will make you think it is from the book while it is not from the book. So they will say a lie about God while they know. So we are going to examine the verse he quoted. Does it actually propagate the nonsense he is talking about? Right? We are going to check. So many a times when you are listening to these scholars, as God says in Quran chapter 39 verse 18, الَّذِينَ يَسْتَمِعُونَ الْقَوْلَ فَيَتَّبِعُونَ أَحْسَنَهُ أُولَٰئِكَ الَّذِينَ أَدَاهُمُ اللَّهُ وَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمْ أُولِو الْأَلْبَابِ. Those who listen to the word and follow the best thereof or of it, those are the ones whom God has guided, and they are those who possess intelligence. Right? So paying attention, examining what a person says is very, very important. Right? It's very important. Don't just listen for listening's sake. According to God, Quran chapter 25 verse 44, those who do not listen and do not reason, they are just like livestock. So the most beneficial aspect of a human being is to listen and reason. Whoever doesn't listen cannot reason. So even in the classroom, academically, your teacher is teaching and you don't listen, you can never reason. You understand? So what the Quran is teaching us is to listen and reason. So God is asking, do you think that most of the people listen or reason? They are just like livestock. And on the day of judgment, if you go to Quran chapter 67 verse 10, people will be lamenting because they fail to listen and reason. Yeah, salam, Faisal Hussein. Salam to you, Sister Alma. Peace to you, Sister Alma Jones. People fail to listen and reason. When we talk to our kids, we want them to listen so that they can reason with us. When you talk with your spouses, you want them to listen and then they reason. When they don't listen, they cannot reason. Are you getting my point? So listening and reasoning has to go together, right? So that is why you listen in order to reason. If you don't listen, you can never reason. So human being, the most important, essential part, I would say. Look, let me quote a verse so that you understand I'm not just saying. Quran chapter 8, verse 22. This is what God says in this verse. Let me put the verse on the screen. In Quran chapter 8, verse 22, God says, Inna sharra dawabi indallahi summun bukmun lazina la yakilun. He says, indeed, the worst of creatures in front of God are the deaf and dumb who do not what? Reason. Now, here you might think it's talking about animals. No. It's talking about all creatures, but including even human beings. Yes. So now, I take you to Quran chapter 10, verse 100. In Quran chapter 10, verse 100, this is what God says. He says, وَمَا كَانَ لِلَفْسٍ وَمَا كَانَ لِلَفْسٍ أَن تُؤْمِنَ إِلَّا بِإِذْنِ اللَّهِ. It is not for a soul to believe except by the permission of God. Right? Okay. Then he says, وَيَجْعَلُ الرِّجْسَ عَلَى الَّذِينَ لَا يَأْكِلُونَ. So what God does is, for he places what? Filth upon those who do not reason. They do not reason. But how come people do not reason? Because they fail to listen. So when you go to Quran chapter 25, verse 44, this is what it says. It says, Am tahsabu anna aktharahum yasma'una aw yakilun. Then it says, Inhum illa kal an'am balhum adallu sabila. So he says, or do you think that most of them, the people, do you think that most of them listen or reason? Then God says they are just like livestock. Now, sometimes people might not understand why God says they are just like livestock. In order for a livestock to understand what you are saying for a period of time, you need to teach the livestock how to understand your language. Yes, a livestock, when you teach a livestock, later on he can understand what you're saying after a while, right? But when you just meet a livestock today without teaching the livestock, and you start speaking to the livestock, number one, he is not listening to what you are saying. Number two, he cannot reason to what you're saying. So when God made a comparison and he says they are just like livestock, he went further to show you the difference between that human being and the livestock. Then he says, in fact, they are more astray. So even the livestock is better, because even the livestock, we can even slaughter it and use it for some, and we can get some good meat from it. But that human being is just useless, kaput. You understand? So they are more astray from the way. Are you getting the point? So on the day of judgment, according to Quran chapter 67, verse 10, this is what God says. On the day of judgment, just a second. I'm sorry. On the day of judgment, this is one. وَقَالُوا لَوْ كُنَّا نَسْمَعُ أَوْ نَعْقِلُ. Then he says, مَا كُنَّا فِي أَصْحَابِ السَّعِيرِ. He says, and they will say, if we had listened or reasoned, we will not have been among the companions of the inferno. Yes, salam to you, Ilmatic. Thank you for the gift, Sister Alma. Thank you. God bless you. So listening is very essential so that you can what? Reason. So many a times you hear Baba Shu speaking, you hear me using the word listen carefully. If you have paid attention, I keep saying listen, then you hear me saying listen carefully, right? It's very, very important. It's very, very, very important. And this is the same thing I actually put in place when I was listening to the scholars, when they speak, their videos, their lectures, whatever. When I'm listening to a scholar speaking, I can decipher between where he's using his whims and desires, and where he's using the words of God to speak. Yasin and Suleiman, did you text me by phone? I didn't check, so I have to check and see. Right, I didn't get the time to check. I'll check and see, inshallah. Is it by my WhatsApp or by TikTok? So kindly type there for me so I can know. I will check it later, God willing. Yeah. Yes. Okay. So it is very essential to listen carefully when you are listening to people speak, the scholars and everything. Okay, no problem. I'll check. So now let's go back to the Shia scholar, what he was saying.
Why are you Shia? Tell them it's because of 555. Surah Al-Ma'idah.
Now he says, if anyone asks you, especially you, the Shia followers, the Shiites, if anyone asks you, why are you a Shia? Then he is saying you should give the person chapter 5, verse 55. We are going to examine the verse and see. Chapter 5, verse 55. Then he's going to give you the reason as to why you are a Shia.
Ma'idah, verse 55. Allah tells you who your guardians are.
So then, this is where the problem comes. You see, we are going to check the context from that verse he quoted to verse 56 and going to examine the meaning of the word wali in that verse. Does it stand for guardian? Because yes, the word wali can stand for guardian also, and it can start from ally. It has multiple meanings. But in terms of causing deviance to the people, he decided to choose a meaning which will cause a chaotic understanding to the verse. So we are going to examine the verse and see, is it guardian in that context? We are going to check.
Innama in Arabic is adatu hasran. It's a restrictive phrase which means only. Innama waliyukumullah. Allah is your guardian.
So then, Innama waliyukumullah, then he translated it as God is your guardian. The word wali can mean guardian, but not in that context. In that context, it doesn't mean guardian. Remember, one word in Arabic can have multiple meanings. Yes, multiple meanings. But there is a particular meaning in which when you try to fit it in the text, it doesn't fit. It will not make sense. Are you getting my point? There's a meaning of that particular word. Whenever you try to fit it in a text, it will not make sense. So you have to find a different text to fit it in. So sometimes it means guardian. Yes, the word wali, or we can say mawla, right? But in this context, it's not referring to wali as in the form of a guardian. We are going to check.
You follow Allah unconditionally. Who else? وَرَسُولُهُ, and his messenger. He's your guardian.
So that is a contradiction. No. The Rasul is not your guardian. Look, I'm going to show you verses to show you the contradictions of what these scholars normally tell you. The Rasul is not your guardian. So we are going to check some of the statements God said concerning the Rasul. So for example, first of all, let me put it bigger. Let me put it bigger. Number one, if I take you to Quran chapter 6, verse 66. Sorry. Chapter 6, verse 66. And I'm going to put here. Now check what God is telling the prophet in this verse. God told him, and your people have denied it while it is the truth. You, the messenger, say, I am not your advocate. Number one, he is not your wakil. So meaning your only wakil is who? God. That's why we say Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakil. So God is sufficient for us. As a wakil. He's sufficient. Now, here, that is number one, wakil. The prophet is not your wakil. Apart from that, I take you to Quran chapter 6, verse 107. In the same chapter 107. Oh, sorry. 6, verse 107. Now, this is what the verse says. It says, and if God had willed, they would not have associated others. And we have not appointed you, Muhammad, as a guardian over them, nor are you their advocate. So, number one, we already saw that God didn't appoint him as a wakil, meaning a representative or an advocate. And again, God is saying in this verse, we did not appoint you as a what? Guardian. When we say hafizwa, meaning to guard over some people, like to be a guardian, like that's the correct word. Hafizwa is to guard over something, right? God didn't appoint him to be like that. Then again, I take you to another verse which shows you what the prophet is not. But what this kind of people, scholars keep doing is they keep twisting the words of God to give their own understanding by using their own opinion. So again, let's go to Quran chapter 50, verse 45. In Quran chapter 50, verse 45, I'm showing you what the prophet is not. We are aware of what they say, and you are not a dictator over them. So the prophet is not meant to be a dictator over people. He's not supposed to be Jabbar, somebody who is tough. You understand? Somebody who is like a tyrant, somebody who is like a dictator over people. The prophet is not meant to be like that. Again, I'm showing you what he is not. Okay. Then again, we go, I take you to, let's say, Quran. Yes. Quran chapter 52, verse 29. Chapter 52, verse 29. This is what the prophet is not. So remind, and by the grace of your Lord, you are not a prognosticator, nor a madman. What he is not, God has stated for us throughout the Quran what the prophet is not. He is not a naysayer, like a soothsayer, a naysayer. He's not a madman. He's not your advocate. He's not a guardian over you. He's not your representative, like a lot. Let me see if I can get another one. Quran chapter 88, verse 22. This one. Oh, sorry. Quran chapter 88, verse 22. This is what God told him. He says, Lasta alayhim bimusaitir. God says, you are not in control over them. Right. Are you getting the point? The prophet is not in control over the people. It is the duty of God. God is in control over the people, not the prophet. So you go throughout the Quran, God has stated several times what the prophet is not. But when you are dealing with the mushriks, the sectarians, what they try to do is they twist the words of God out of its place in order to fabricate their own inventions or interpolations into the words of God. So Quran chapter 10, verse 82, God says, وَيُحِقُّ اللَّهُ الْحَقَّ بِكَلِمَاتِهِ وَلَوْ كَرِهَ الْمُجْرِمُونَ. And God will enforce the truth with his words, even if the criminals dislike it. Okay, so now let's go back to this mushrik trying to lie about the words of God. Now check what he's saying.
All matters, religion, world, everything. Rasulullah is your guide and guardian. And
you see the problem again. In all matters, religion, everything, Rasul is your guide and guardian. You will never find a verse in the Quran where he says he is the guide. Hadi, the word Hadi is guide. However, who is the guide of the believers? Let's go and check what God says. In Quran chapter, check who is the guide of the believers. Quran chapter 22, verse 54. Who is our guide? So God says, listen to what وَلِيَعْلَمَ الَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْعِلْمَ أَنَّهُ الْحَقُّ مِنْ رَبِّكَ. Then he says, فَيُؤْمِنُوا بِهِ. Then he says, فَتُخْبِتَ لَهُ قُلُوبُهُمْ وَإِنَّ اللَّهَ لَهَادِي. This is the word. إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَهَادِي لَذِينَ آمَنُوا. You see what he says? آمَنُوا إِلَى صِرَاطٍ مُسْتَقِيمٍ. So he says, so that those who have been given the knowledge will know that it is the truth from your Lord, and says what? And they will believe in it. Then he says, and their hearts will humble to it, for indeed God is the guide. You see? It doesn't say prophet is the guide. It doesn't say Muhammad is the guide. It says God is the guide. So it is God who guides. He is the guide of who? Lazina amanu ila siratin mustaqim. God is the guide of those who what? Of those who have believed to a straight path. God is the Hadi. And not only that, it is repeated in Quran chapter 39 verse 27, right? Oh, sorry. Quran chapter 39 verse 23. Quran chapter 39 verse 23. So it says here, Allahu nazal al-ahsan al-hadith kitaban mutashabihan mathaniya taksha'irru minhu juludul lazina yakhshawna rabbahum thumma talinu juluduhum wa qulubuhum ila zikrullah. Then he says, Zalika hudallahi yadi bihi man yasha. Then he says, Woman, listen what he says. Woman yidlillahu fama lahu min hadi. So this had has been used in chapter 39 verse 23. It says God has revealed the best discourse, the best hadith, and it says a book similarly repeating the skins of those who fear their Lord shiver thereof, thus their skins and their hearts soften to the what? To the remembrance of God. That is the guidance of God by which he guides whomever he wills. As for one whom God leaves astray, then he will have no guide. So the contention is between who is our guide. It's either God guides you or nobody can guide you. I don't know why foolish people out there think somebody is there to guide you. How? Okay. You see it clearly. So you will never find a verse where it says the prophet is a guardian over you. You will never find a verse where it says he is a guide for you. It doesn't exist. Yes. So here, in Quran chapter 10 verse 35, check what God says. Quran chapter 10 verse 35, God is asking a question. Kul hal min shurakaikum man yahdi ila al-haq. Then he says, Kulillah yahdi lil-haq. Then he says, Afa man yahdi ila al-haq ahakku an yuttaba'a amman la yahiddi illa an yuhda. Then he says, Famalakum kayfa tahkumun. Then he says, say, are there any of your associates who guides Yahdi to the truth? Say, God guides to the truth. So is one who guides to the truth worthier to be followed, or one who cannot guide unless he is guided? Then he says, so how do you judge? So how can the Shia mushrik sit down again and tell us that prophet is the guide and at the same time is a what? It's a guardian. No, it doesn't add up. But let's go again and check what the mushrik is saying.
وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا, those who believe. Ya Quran, tell me, who are those beliefs?
So now, let's go back to the verse. Quran chapter 5 verse 55. Let's break it down to show you what this mushrik is trying to do. So this is the verse on the screen. The verse is on the screen. So God says, Innama waliyukumullah wa rasuluhu. Wa rasuluhu. Then he says, Wallazina amanu. Then he says, Allazina yukimuna salat wa yutuna zakat wa hum raki'un. Right? Okay. Your only ally. Your ally. And I'll show you why the context is using this meaning as ally. If you use guardian in this context, it is wrong. The word guardian doesn't fit in this context. It becomes a contradiction. The Rasul is not your guardian. No. It is only God who is your guardian. Only. Okay. So here, your only ally is God. Then he says, as well as his messenger is your ally also. Then he says, and those who believe, the ones who establish the litany and give the charity and they bow down, those are your allies. You see your allies? We don't say they're guardians. So in order to, in order to understand this context, then I take you the verse below. The verse below is going to give you the context. Then he says, and whoever allies with God and his messenger, and those who have believed, then indeed the party of God, Hizbullah, are the what? Winners. So do you see, when you connect the verse above 55 to verse 56, it is showing you the verbal form of the word wali. It has been used as a verb down where it says woman yatawalla. Woman yatawalla, because that word shares the same root with the word wali. Are you getting the point? So what this most of the mushriks they do is they take the words of God out of context, then they interpolate their own confusions into the words of God, so that you might think, oh, it is there. Especially the Shia people, they will misquote verses of the Quran to make you think Shiism is in the Quran. I'm serious. But you meet correctional officer and prove that. Let's see. Yeah. Try to meet correctional officer and prove that. Let's see. You see? Okay, so let's continue.
It can apply to anyone who is a believer. No, the Quran gives you specific descriptions. والذين آمنوا الذين يقيمون الصلاة ويؤتون الزكاة وهم راكعون. They are those who gave the zakat in the state of ruku'. And when you analyze history, this happened with Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam.
So now they leave the Quran aside. Then they say, if you check through history, then they go and bring their idols, and then they say, okay, it fits their idols. So this is the idol, and this is what the verse is talking about. So it is about Ali. That's what they do. So now check.
He extended his hand to give that act of charity to the poor person. The Imam was in Nafila prayer, in Mustahab prayer. The man came. He didn't want to be delayed. Please give me something. The Imam just extended his hand and he gave him his ring. He is my Imam who has that guardianship. That's why
you see,
I'm a Shia.
This is how he became a Shia, by lying to you. That's how they do. They lie to you to become what God does not approve. Yes, and when you don't agree with them, they call you a kafir. They say you are going to hell. The hell they created for themselves. The one they will say, when you enter the hellfire and they take you to paradise, they are taking you to paradise, you'll be called Al-Jahannamayin. They will give you a nickname, entering paradise. That is the hell they are telling you about. So away with the lies of the Shia scholars. So any Shia person quoting verses to you, please examine the context. They are going to lie to you, to be honest. They will lie to you. Beware of them. Because God never instructed anybody to be a Shia person or Sunni or Ahmadiyya or Tijaniya or whatever. You are lying to yourselves. Okay. So away with the Shia. Now let's go with the Sunnis. We are finished with the Shia. Let's go with the Sunnis, right? Okay. So now Sunni, it's your turn. Let's bring your scholars to the for correctional officer to deal with them. Now we are going to the Sunni scholars. Let's listen to the first Sunni scholar. Who is that? Let's take Mufti Menk.
Reject the Sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Some people reject the Hadith. If we reject the Hadith, we will not be able to achieve contentment because we won't be able to practice Islam. Some people reject the Sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Some people reject the Hadith. If we reject the Hadith, we will not be able to achieve contentment because we won't be able to practice Islam.
So this is the problem, because they've made the Prophet as a guardian or a guide. Yes, that is what sectarians believe in. And if you watch my last video that I pasted on my YouTube page, you understand what I'm saying by the sectarians, how they've been brainwashed to think the Prophet is a guide. Right? So here is Mufti Menk trying to propagate this nonsense to the people again. They don't venerate God at all. They don't value God. So it is all about their scholars and what their books say. Do you see the problem? So let's examine his words. Listen what he said.
Some people reject the Sunnah of the
He says some people reject the Sunnah of the Prophet. Number one, throughout the Quran, 6,236 verses, you will never find a single verse where it says Sunnah to Muhammad or Sunnah to Nabi. It doesn't exist. Prophet doesn't have his own Sunnah. It doesn't exist. Wallahi lazim. I'm not joking with you. And I dare any scholar out there. Let's sit down and have a dialogue on it. There is nowhere in the Quran God says the Prophet has Sunnah. It doesn't exist.
Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Some people reject the Hadith.
Then he goes ahead to say some people reject the Hadith. This is the foolishness of these scholars that I don't understand. The Quran on its own is called Al-Hadith. The Quran on its own is Al-Hadith. So if you say some people reject the Hadith, which Hadith are you talking about? The comedy books you have created? The Sahih Bukhari, Sahih Muslim, Jami al-Tirmizi, Abid Dawood, Sunan an-Nasai. You mention it. Ibn Majah. You call this the Hadith that the Prophet never gave you? He gave you those comedy books. He never gave you. As a matter of fact, your own Hadith book, Sahih Muslim 3004, the Prophet is saying, according to your Hadith book, La taktubu anni, wa man kataba anni ghayra al-Qur'an falyamhu wa addisu hadni. He says, do not write anything from me except the Quran. Whoever writes anything apart from the Quran should wipe it out, efface it. So if that is the command, how come after him you now have comedy books claiming this is a book coming from the Prophet? Huh? Let's go forward.
If we reject the Hadith, we will not be able to achieve contentment because we won't be able to practice Islam.
So you see his reason? If we reject the Hadith, so according to them, Hadith is guidance. So hypothetically, let's assume Prophet Muhammad, the Hadith belongs to Prophet Muhammad. Hypothetically, right? I'm going to show you a simple answer you should be refuting these comedians with, the mushrik comedians. The simple verse you have to quote is Quran chapter 2, verse 272. Let's go. I'm going to put it on the screen. Quran chapter 2, verse 272. Before you quote the verse, always ask a mushrik that why should I follow the Hadith books? They say so that you will be guided. So then you ask them, so does that mean the Quran cannot guide me? They will say, Akhi, the Hadith explains the Quran. So how come a book you are claiming it is explaining the Quran is more difficult than even the Quran? You say we have to learn the isnad, the mutawatir, the chain of this thing, and the scholars, the one who transferred to this, can it be reliable? And who made it sahih? Our scholars, they have to check for you which one is sahih, which one is not. And then, you have to go and check the house in which the person lives. Some people, to the extent they say donkey even narrated hadith. Donkey. Somebody got hadith from a donkey. Hey, donkey. Hey, the same donkey God was giving an analogy in Quran chapter 62 verse 5, where he talk about the people of the Torah who did not bear the Torah is just like donkey carrying volumes of books. Hadith people are claiming that they even got hadith from a donkey. Hey, okay. Why should we follow hadith? So that we know how to practice Islam, right? This is what Mufti Menk said. Hear what he said before I go to that part.
Contentment because we won't be able to practice Islam.
Okay, so according to Mufti Menk, because we won't be able to practice Islam, so which means without the hadith you cannot be guided. So let's assume the hadith is Prophet Muhammad. Why should we follow it? So that we will be guided, right? Okay, so now check what the Quran says. This is what the Quran is saying concerning what Mufti Menk is saying. They don't add up. So according to God, Quran chapter 2 verse 272, God is telling Prophet Muhammad, Laysa alayka hudahum, walakin Allah yadi man yasha. He says their guidance is not upon you. but God guides whomever he wills. So Mufti Menk, this is the verse of the Quran. Quran chapter 2, verse 272. So let's assume the Hadith is our guiding book, because you claim if we follow the Quran alone, we are lost. So it is your garbage books you are claiming is going to guide us to Islam, right? Okay. But here is God telling the Prophet that their guidance, the people's guidance, is not upon you, Muhammad, but God guides whomever he wills. So is it rather the guidance of God I should follow, or the guidance of your comedy books? Because the last time I checked, the Prophet doesn't have his own guidance where he wrote it to give it to the people to guide the people. It is God's guidance he brought. As a matter of fact, the Prophet himself, this is what he said. In Quran chapter 6, verse 71, this is what the Prophet said. If you go to Quran chapter 6, verse 71, here, he was asked as a messenger to tell us, this is the verse here. Say, indeed, the guidance of God is the what? Guidance. Inna hudallahi huwal huda. This is what the messenger was asked to tell you. Quran chapter 6, verse 71. If you read the verse coming down, the messenger was asked to tell the people, indeed, the guidance of God is the guidance. So why are you fooling people? Just because you are famous, you are a celebrity, you will keep fooling people with your opinions. Yes, I will tell you, you are fooling people. Stop lying about the words of God. It's either you shut your beak. You keep trying to wear makeup like this thing. I don't know if he also followed the hadith that says he should try to beautify himself. You can see Mufti Menk, he likes to wear, I don't know if he wears makeup. I know it takes him hours to get him ready. You can see he looks like somebody who wears makeup also. So say, indeed, the guidance of God is the guidance. And we have been commanded to submit to the Lord of the worlds. Simple. So here, God is telling us simply in his own book, the guidance of God is the guidance. And he told the prophet, their guidance is not upon you. But we still have these foolish scholars around the world who have been set down like puppets, lying to the people, taking your monies. Seriously, I don't get it. What do you think these guys have to offer you? Their makeups, and they start mashallah with their big Arabic words, and you think mashallah, that is angels, and they are taking you to paradise. You sit there. Sit there and keep enjoying the sweet voice they give you and think they are taking you to paradise. You will see. When the angel is giving you dirty slaps, you remember. Let's go to the next mushrik. The next mushrik again is also a Sunni. So let's go to another mushrik here. It's also another Sunni. So let's see what he has to say.
Authentic hadith, rocks, they testify to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam being a prophet. Rocks, trees, they don't have lungs, they don't have tongues. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that the Quran will speak on the day of judgment, the skins will speak on the day of judgment. He is not restricted that they must have tongues and lungs and things. No. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said it, we believe in it. And this is a very core principle of Aqidah.
It's just a dumb school. I'm going to be honest with you.
Rocks, they testify to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam being a prophet. Rocks.
What is this? Seriously.
Trees, they don't have lungs, they don't have tongues. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that the Quran will speak on the day of judgment, the skins will speak on the day of judgment. He is not restricted that they must have tongues and lungs and things. No. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said it, we believe in it.
My brother Cliff, I see you. Peace to you, bro. Cliff, I see you. So, this is Usman bin Farouk. And it baffles me how people take this kind of comedians seriously. Mentally, they have to be checked. They have to be checked mentally. I'm not excluding any scholar. Your Mufti Mengs, your Zakir Naiks, your especially Asim Al-Hakim, that guy from Saudi, he has to be checked mentally. You think when these guys have their degrees or whatever, that means they are sound, right? That's what you are thinking. You don't know. So this guy is saying all this gibberish, which cannot be found in the book of God. And he's saying he's using another form when in the day of judgment, when God says the skins and the hands of people will testify against them, he's using that as a shield. You understand? To say that the mountains and the trees are testifying to the prophet that he is a prophet. Look at the foolishness. So the testimony of God is not enough to tell the prophet that you are a prophet. So it takes a tree or a mountain, to the rocks, to tell the prophet that you are a prophet for him to believe. Hey, why? 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 Was the prophet sent to the rocks or mountains or trees? No, seriously. The Quran. Did God say the Quran was sent to the mountains and the trees? The Quran is for mankind. Quran chapter 2 verse 185 is a guidance for mankind. What is the testimony for trees and mountains and rocks? What are they going to do? For what? Now, what does the prophet need those testimony for? What kind of lies are this? You tell the people all these comedy stories and you think it's part of Islam? Where? Which verse? Hey! So this is Uthman ibn Farouk. And people think these people are knowledgeable. MashaAllah. They say, MashaAllah, Sheikh. Wallahi, I love you all. Hey. Seriously, they have degrees in stupidity. You think they are... Okay. I'm going to play another stupid guy, his video. You check what the guy said, and then you know the level of stupidity they have in that so-called fake version of Islam they are giving you out there. I'm going to prove the stupidity of some of your scholars. Watch. Listen to this guy. If they are not stupid, you tell me. If you think they are sound in the head, you tell me. I'm going to play this video. His name is Abu Musab. Sheikh Abu Musab. Listen to what he said.
You better believe we follow him blindly. We follow him blindly or not? You better follow him blindly. Because you know what it means when you don't follow him blindly? Meaning you will only do what you agree with. Blindly, meaning you don't use your brain. And you know, you may use your brain to understand what he said. But if you want to use your brain to reject what he said, then you don't need your brain anymore. You need to follow him blindly. He's the only one we follow blindly. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam.
God have mercy upon us. God have mercy upon us.
Guys, did you hear what he just said? Did you hear what he said? Now, do you see why a lot of the sectarians, I call them bozos, like that? They've been bozofied, not zombified. It's bozofied, but they are scholars. So what we call the brain, they didn't use it. It is taken out and put into the incubator with a padlock on it, and it cannot be used. So listen, this is a Sunni scholar. Listen what he said. I'm going to repeat it. He said what?
The Messenger of Allah, you better believe we follow him blindly.
He says, the Messenger of God, you better believe we follow him blindly. Let's go.
We follow him blindly or not?
He asked the audience, we follow him blindly or not? Then they said what?
You better follow him
Then they say yes. Then he told them, you better follow him what?
blindly.
You better follow him blindly. Yes. This is a Sunni scholar. His name is Abu Musab. Musab. He's popular on the internet. He's telling his audience, and they agree with him. Let's go forward.
Because you know what it means when you don't follow him blindly?
Then he's now telling you, do you know what it means when you don't follow him blindly?
Meaning you will only do what you agree with.
Meaning you will only do what you agree with. Hey, the Quran chapter 17 verse 36 says, do not pursue that of which you have no knowledge. Let me put it on the screen so that every intellectual person watching the screen can understand what the Quran says, contrary to what these foolish scholars think they are teaching you out there. I'm going to show you something. This is what the Quran says concerning following the guidance of God. So God says what? Do not pursue that what you have no knowledge about. Then he says, indeed, the hearing, the eyesight, and the mind, all those will be accountable thereof. So God will question you concerning the hearing, the eyesight, and the mind he has given you. But here you are, you have a scholar telling you that if you don't follow the prophet blindly, you will only follow what you agree with. What? What? So why should I go and follow what I don't agree with? Why? No, why should I go and follow what I don't agree with? Okay. This is why Asim al-Hakim, he's telling you that with the moment you join that fake version of their Islam, when you try to go out, it is called cardinal sin. That is why the hadith is telling you, Man baddala dinahu faqtuluhu. He says, whoever exits or changes his religion, kill him. That is what the hadith book says. Do you see? If you listen to these scholars like a sheep and you don't use your God-given reasoning, wallah, you are the biggest fool ever. Because these guys have been paid to mentally enslave you to make you look like sheep. Because they don't want you to reason. According to the sectarian religion, common sense is not allowed. You are not supposed to use logic. Yes. I'm not saying it. Look, another scholar of theirs, let me play his video. Another scholar of theirs just said it. I happen to have the video right now. Listen to what he said.
Whatever Allah says, whatever the Prophet ﷺ says, we believe in it and we affirm it without thinking too deeply about this, about the actuality of this act.
I think that's just dumb.
Do you see? That is Yasir Kadi also emphasizing on that stupidity. Is that what God says? God says whatever he says, just take it without thinking deeply. Then why did he say, Afala yatadabbaruna al-Quran? Why do you think God says, do they not contemplate the Quran? Does that mean God doesn't want you to think deeply? What kind of foolish scholars are you propagating out there? And you think these people are... You put these comedians out there and you think... to be honest, you put comedians out there and you think they are scholars. What? God is telling you to contemplate the Quran. Quran chapter 47, Surah to Muhammad, verse 24. Afala yatadabbaruna al-Quran. Then he is asking you, Am ala qulubun aqfaluha? Do you have padlocks? Do you have locks on your hearts? When God is telling you to contemplate the book, it means you have to think deeply. That is why many a times the Quran will say, Afala ta'kilun, Afala tatafakkarun, Afala tubsirun, Afala yatadabbarun al-Quran. He wants you to reflect. He wants you to contemplate. He wants you to use reasoning. You let some foolish scholars out there because they are famous, because you think they have some stupid degrees, And they will say theology. What kind of foolish theology? Who? Tell me. Who is setting up these stupid doctrines for them to teach you? And you think they are guided, right? Because they are famous. You watch your ass get roasted very soon. Seriously. If you don't stop taking these comedians, you don't stop taking them seriously. Let's go.
Blindly, meaning you don't use your brain.
So meaning you have to follow the prophet blindly, meaning don't use your brain. Do you hear what he's saying? Don't use your brain. Huh? Salam to you, the Osmans.
And you may use your brain to understand what he said. But if you want to use your brain to reject what he said, then you don't need your brain anymore.
He says you may use your brain to understand what he said, but if you want to use your brain to reject what he says, then you don't need your brain anymore. Is that not a threat? And that is why when you use your brain to tell people, no, you don't agree that the prophet married a 6-year-old girl, if you are in an extremist zone of people calling themselves Muslim, they will kill you. I'm serious. Yes, if you are in the midst of extremists, that is why Nigeria, in Kanu, Nigeria, they tried to kill, to sentence this guy to death, Abdul Jabbar, a scholar from Nigeria. They tried to sentence him to death because he brought some stupid hadiths out and told them these hadiths are gibberish, and they tried to deal with him. I don't know how long is his case now. And also Sheikh Hassan in Saudi Arabia, for standing up against some of the gibberish of the hadith books, they jailed him. They put him to prison. This is how they are.
You need to follow him blindly. He's the only one we follow blindly. Sallallahu.
He says you need to follow him blindly, and he is the only one we follow blindly. So now, do you understand why everywhere you go, they mention the prophet when they want to lie to you? That's these same scholars. Is it clear for you why they mention the prophet? They make you worship the prophet, they idolize the prophet, and when they want to lie to you, they mention the prophet. Are you getting the point now? So if that is the case, how come some of the hadith books, they have da'if, they have weak? Some of the narrations, if you say weak, can we still use it? So then who classified it as weak? Their own scholars. Do you see? Their own scholars classify it as what? Weak. But they follow it. So these are devilish scholars. You think they are propagating Islam? No, that is not Islam, to be honest. The Asim Halakims, the Abu Musab, the Mufti Mengs, the Zakir Naiks, Baba Shu is helping you scrutinize these people very well. They are the devil's agents. I'm not joking with you. Wallahi, I can prove it to you from head to toe. I have videos on them. Go and check my videos versus the scholars. You will see. Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakil. If you are taking these guys seriously, then think twice. Wallahi, think twice. Seriously. You need to reason and think twice. So let me see. What do I have here? I put this one here. So I'm putting my link. This is the link. I put it in the YouTube comment section, and also let me see if I can put it on Facebook. You can, if you want to join and ask questions, and also my phone number is on the page. Let me put my phone number. That is my WhatsApp number. If you want to join, you call and ask your question. Kindly call. Today I'm not staying here that long. So it's now for question and answer time, Q&A session. You can call, ask your questions. After that, I will go to TikTok, right? So let me put the link on Facebook. For those who want to join the link, that is the guest link down there. If you want to appear as a guest on the StreamYard link, that is the link. I put it on YouTube. Let me see if I can put it on Facebook. So it's now for if you want to appear as a yeah, so that is the link. I just put it in the YouTube comment section. Yeah. Yeah, salam to you, Abu Suleiman. You're welcome. That is the link if you want to join. And also, if you want to call, there's a WhatsApp number on the beneath the page on my page now. Right now, you can call. I think I'll open this session maybe for like 30 minutes to 1 hour before I go to TikTok. So kindly call if you have any question pertaining to whatever I've discussed. And let's yeah. I'll be coming to TikTok very soon. As soon as I'm done here, I'm jumping to TikTok, right? Yes, so that is the link. Yeah, that is the link to my StreamYard, and that is the phone number below to call. So you can call via WhatsApp, or you can join me on TikTok afterwards. Yes, you're welcome. And let me see some of the questions I've missed. So somebody was saying, okay, Mohammed Lamin Diawara was saying that, Baba, this week in Bamako, the Quranic mosque was banned by the followers of Hadith. Meaning the followers of Hadith, they banned people who follow the Quran alone. Yeah, thank you very much. Ali Ibrahima, thank you for the support. Yes, God bless you. They banned the Quranic mosque. People who follow the Quran, their mosque was banned by the followers of the Hadith because they were dominant, right? So they don't want people to actually follow the guidance of God, to follow the right way of serving God. So they are against people who follow the Quran alone. In Mali, Bamako, that is somebody from Mali just writing, because what the mushriks do is when they have dominance in a community, they want to silence everybody, because the part of the religion they are following is not from God, right? So they always want to be aggressors against people. That's what they do. So I have a guest here. Let me pick up this guest. Oh, he went off. Yes, so kindly join the link. Let me see. I have it in the Facebook pinned session, and on YouTube, let me see. And on YouTube, I have it there. Yes, in the YouTube comment section also you find a link, or you can call directly. Okay, somebody sent me a message. Let me see. Okay, somebody sent a message. It says, Baba Shuaib, do you know about Submeter and their code 19? They believe in new messenger Rashad Khalifa and say that Quranism is wrong. They know you and say that the Quranism is wrong. Only submission is correct. They are mainly based in USA. I do have a video on that. I have a full lecture I did on concerning Rashad Khalifa code 19, right? I have a video I did on that. It's on my YouTube channel. Let me see. So if you're watching, if you go to my live sessions videos that I did, go to my live videos. You will see it. The title is Rashad Khalifa. Yes, in my listen. I did a full topic on that. So kindly watch it if you want to see the breakdown, right? So did you think about revising your translation of the Quran? Abu Suleiman said, did you think about revising your translation of Quran? In which sense? Be specific. In which sense should I revise? In which sense? Or in what sense? Yeah, salam to you, Mood. Asma Winga, you're welcome. Yes. Hello, H. Salam to you. Muhammad Gaddafi says, do we visit the graveyard for the dua for the dead person? The dua doesn't do anything for a dead person. It's a waste of time. If you want to visit a graveyard, I don't see any problem with visitation. To visit, there's no problem. But to say you are going to make a supplication dua, it doesn't help anything. It doesn't do anything to a dead person. Somebody says the Iranian submitters are particularly insidious. Oh, really? They are killing Islam, huh? Yes, I know about Ultimate Truth. Yeah, he follows me on. We follow each other on TikTok. Yes, Ultimate Truth. I know he joined my stream one time on TikTok. Yes, I know Ultimate Truth. And I think we've the first time we met was on Clubhouse, right? I used to be on Clubhouse some time ago, but it's been like 2 years now, so I've not been. I think the last time I went was last year or so. Alam Shah says, can we allow children participate in Halloween party despite being of pagan origin? The children are not involved in paganism, but purely in enjoyment of the events. Sometimes we as parents, sometimes we don't have the major role in terms of what the kids will do in the schools. For instance, at home, I will not allow my kids to go to the events. But if they are in school with other friends, sometimes I do explain. For instance, to my daughter, I do explain to her. But this is not something she should actually get herself involved in. You understand? But out of ignorance, yes, kids will do things out of ignorance. But as time goes on, when you don't advise your kids against certain things, they will grow up thinking it's normal. And this is how indoctrination starts. I remember one time from my daughter's school, the teachers were asking me if I will allow my daughter to go to a church service. It's like a church program for the kids. So I spoke to my daughter and I told her, if it is me, I will not allow you to go. But then she said, oh, her friends are going to the event. So what do I think? And I said, well, so I explained to her the concept of Christianity. And I told her what is happening there. Even though she's going to witness it, she shouldn't involve herself in the activity. She can go there and watch, but she shouldn't be a participant in what they are doing. You understand? So the teachers told me, oh, it's not a must for her to participate in what they are going to do, but she can just be there to see. And me growing up, I went to a Christian school, right? On Wednesdays, we go for church service and others. I don't participate in it, but I can be there and watch. I be there and observe what is going on. You understand? Sometimes as an observer, yes, I can just go and check, but it doesn't mean I'm part of the church service. No. Right? So sometimes we have to let our kids know certain things, see certain things in order to, then we can explain to them the do's and the don'ts or the evil sides. So I give you an example. You see here, when you take the Quran is a book of guidance. This same Quran tells you the ways of Pharaoh, tells you the ways of the devil, tells you the ways of the criminals, and so on. The same Quran. Then it tells you the ways of the believers. Then now he gives you a choice. Then he says, La ikraha fid din. Kad tabayyana rushd min al-ghayy. Right? There is no compulsion in the religion, and then the right way has been made distinguished from the what? The way of error. So now it rests on you, the person, now to make a decision. God has shown you all the paths. So now decide. You see? So then you decide. Because sometimes when we don't give our kids the chance to exploit certain things around them before telling them to stop, to avoid such things, they might not know the implications or why you are telling them don't go or don't do this. Out of curiosity, you know how kids are very curious. The moment you don't get them to see something before telling them not to see it, it raises their curiosity. Then they become curious. They want to see, why is my father say I shouldn't go and check this? You understand? So sometimes you allow as a kid to go and see certain things so far as it's not an extreme dangerous thing. Let them see it. Then they come back home. They will have a discussion with you. For instance, when my daughter goes to such events, she comes back home. She explained them to me. And she said there was a statue of Jesus. And I said, look, does it make sense? How can the statue of a human being be there and you claim he is God? And then one day I remember having a conversation with her. She said, well, that's stupidity. Because why will you put a human being and you say that's your God? You understand? So these are things we should sometimes let our kids exploit, and then we can teach them from that, and then let them know the do's and don'ts when it comes to these events and whatever have you. Yeah. Abu Suleiman, you are talking about Quran chapter 17, verse 46. Yes, if you can actually bring out the notion like clearly, what exactly are you pointing about the accuracy? You are talking about more accurate. Are you talking about وَإِذَا ذَكَرْتَ رَبَّكَ فِي الْقُرْآنِ وَحْدَهُ وَلَّوْا عَلَىٰ أَدْبَارِهِمْ نُفُورًا? Is that what you're talking about? Or what are you talking about? Yeah, you're welcome, Alamsha. You're welcome. Okay, I got what you mean. Now, this is something that I've had discussion with people when it comes to the grammatical aspect, the modern standard aspect, and then the classical version aspect when it comes to the syntax, the rule of the language concerning the kasra, the tashkils over the words. Now, Arabians can actually read something even without the tashkils. So let's take the notion of people saying that, okay, when the Quran was revealed, there was no tashkils, right? There was no tashkil. When the Quran was revealed, there's no tashkil. Who invented the notion of the tashkil? That's another question. Invention of the notion of the tashkil, if we have to go with that notion, let me tell you, that notion will not stand the test of time. If we go with that notion, so people will say, since the kasra, it says, وَإِذَا ذَكَرْتَ رَبَّكَ فِي الْقُرْآنِ, it says fil Qur'ani, because it says ni. So that means the alone is not attributed to the Quran, but instead it is attributed to the what? Lord. وَإِذَا ذَكَرْتَ رَبَّكَ فِي الْقُرْآنِ وَحْدَهُ وَلَّوْ عَلَىٰ أَدْبَارِهِمْ نُفُورًا. So now, the question is, let's go back to and examine the verse. I'm going to put it on the screen. Quran chapter 17, verse 46. This is the verse. The confusion surrounding this verse is, many a times people will say, because it says, وَإِذَا ذَكَرْتَ, let me maximize it here. وَإِذَا ذَكَرْتَ رَبَّكَ. You see there's a fatah here over the rabbaka. Then it says fil Qur'ani, because of this kasra. Then they say this wahdahu, it's actually connected to the rabbaka and it's not connected to the Qur'ani. So now, hypothetically, let's do away with the tashkils. Right? So now let's read it. For instance, Abu Sulaiman, you can help me out. You are based in Saudi Arabia, so help me out. وَإِذَا ذَكَرْتَ رَبَّكَ. Let's not use the tashkil. Now, if you remember Quran chapter 39, verse 45, here. Here, if we are going to use this as an example, let's take the tashkil out. Let's not deal with the tashkil. Where it says, وَإِذَا ذُكِرَ اللَّهُ وَحْدَهُ. So because of the who on top of Allah, lahu, they will say the wahdahu is connected to the Allah. Right? Okay, when we do away with the tashkil, let's read the context. The context says, and when God alone is mentioned, the hearts of those who do not believe in the hereafter are filled with disgust. Here, it doesn't say when God alone is mentioned in the Quran. Because what God is propagating to us is La ilaha illallah. There is no God but Allah. So there is only one God. God is propagating to us. Or God is teaching us. There's only one God. There's never any other God. But now, let's go back to 1746. Remember, the grammatical rules are there to only help you in coming closer to the understanding of the Quran, but it doesn't mean it is God who set forth those rules of the grammatical rule. Remember, the grammatical rules are set forth by human beings. Yes. Yes. And I'll tell you what, I'm based in Finland. In Finland, they have certain rules in their language concerning certain words. I've asked teachers questions and they still cannot explain because those rules were set by human beings and it doesn't stand the test of time. Sometimes. Yes, sometimes the teachers cannot explain the rule because they made it like that. So they think, oh, that's how it is. But no, there's always the another side of the coin. So now I'm going to show you the other side of the coin on this verse. So he says, وَإِذَا ذَكَرْتَ رَبَّكَ فِي الْقُرْآنِ وَحْدَهُ وَلَّوْ عَلَىٰ أَدْبَارِهِمْ نُفُورًا. So this is my translation. Then I said, and when you mention your Lord in the Quran alone, because they want you to mention your Lord from another side, another book, or somewhere else, other than the Quran alone. So somebody will say, when you mention your Lord alone in the Quran, no, how many Lords do we have in the Quran? Is it 2 or 3? If you say, when you mention your Lord alone in the Quran, it makes no sense. Because the question arises, how many Lords do we have in the Quran? Are you getting the point? How many Lords? So if I say, and you mention your Lord alone in the Quran, so you understand? Yes, so that's the point. So when you mention your Lord in the Quran alone, because that is the book of guidance. So when you mention him from the book of guidance, they want you to mention him from another book because that is a book of contradiction. First of all, God never revealed a book called Bible. Are you getting my point? The twisted narration about God in the Bible is full of contradictions. If you go to the book of Isaiah, it's telling you God is one. There's no God. But when you go to the New Testament, they will tell you Jesus is God. In the New Testament, some of them were even calling Jesus God. Somebody like Thomas, Timothy, and so on. In the book of Timothy, Paul is calling Jesus as God. You understand? If you are dealing with the Quran, when you mention your Lord in the Quran alone, because that is the book of guidance God has given to mankind. So, the last time I checked, God never gave us a book called Bible. No. You understand? So when you mention your Lord in the Quran alone, yes, because then you are not mentioning your Lord from any other external sources that God never assigned or gave us. No, I get your point. You say grammar disagree, but the first question is, who set forth the grammatical rules? Then we can go and question him and see the contradiction in the rule. Remember, the grammatical rules of the Arabic language was not set forth by God. Yes, there is a certain line of statements the Quran uses. The grammatical rules of Arabic language will not use it. There's a way in which Quran structures sentences. Grammatical usage of Arabic language today will not use it. But does that mean the Quran is wrong? No. So the point is, the Quran was there before these grammatical rules were set forth, just to aid people in understanding the structure of the Quran, but does not superimpose the rules on the Quran. So we can use the Quran itself to assess certain understandings based on what we see, but it doesn't make it ultimate over the Quran. I hope you are getting my point, Abu Suleiman. Because as a matter of fact, we can never say any Arabic language out there can superimpose over the Quran. No dialect, no version of Arabic language can be superimposed over the Quran. Okay. So let's go to this. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so let's go. Because when you brought that verse up, I know about that verse. I translated it for this same argument. I understand the point. I'm open to have the discussion with scholars over this particular verse, and we can deliberate on that, because they have to first come and prove to me who said that rule. Okay, so now I've done 1 hour 40 minutes. So yes, you can call directly, or you can send a message, or you can join via the link I put in the comment section. You're welcome. So somebody says, I'm wondering. Somebody says, I'm wondering what we Muslims that only believe in the words mentioned in the Quran are called. No, we don't believe only in the words in the Quran. No, that's not the point. No. Not Quranists like the people that follow Hadith call us, but also not Muslims, right? We are Muslims. We are Muslims. That's it. If you go to Quran chapter 27, verse 91, this is what the Prophet said. This is what Prophet Muhammad himself said. I'm going to show you the verse. So the person wants to know, what name are we supposed to be called? So now when you go to Quran chapter 27, verse 91, it says, the Prophet himself, he said, Wa umirtu, and I have been commanded to be of the what? Muslimin, that is Muslims. Then, and to recite the Quran. That is what he has been commanded. Quran chapter 27, verse 91 to 92. He says, I have been commanded to be of the Muslims and to recite the Quran. So if the Prophet has been commanded to be of the Muslims, why should you be something else? Why will you claim to be something else? You are also a Muslim. You follow the Quran. That is the book he followed. So why should you be classified differently? Was the Prophet a Quraniyun? No, he was not a Quranist. You understand? Yes, exactly. Abdul, English language has many weird rules as well. Every language does have. The idea of having grammatical rules is to give you the structure of the language where it can aid you to understand, but it doesn't mean they don't have loopholes, because the rules are set forth by people, by human beings. You understand? So sometimes logic doesn't go with that rule. So you have to first use logic first. Okay, we have somebody in the session. Yes, salam, brother. Your name and where you're calling from?
Hey, Baba, salams. How are you? Can
I'm
you
doing
hear me?
good. Thanks to God. Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, beautiful. I am calling from Australia.
Nice to meet you, brother. Your name? Your name?
Hussein.
Hussein. Your name is Hussein.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
You know, like Saddam Hussein, but just Hussein. You know.
Yeah, no problem. So, how may I help you, Hussein?
So I have been listening to Muhammad. You've been on his podcast, you know, on his YouTube a few times. I find what you guys are saying very interesting. I like what you're saying. I'm just, you know, I just phoned up because I saw you live and I thought we could have a little conversation. What I've been trying to understand is, I listened to how you explained the verse in the Quran, obey Allah and obey the Rasul, but I didn't. I listened to it a couple times, but I couldn't exactly follow what you mean by Rasul, the message or the messenger. Did I understand it correctly? Are you saying Gabriel is the messenger, or I think I'm a bit confused on this point?
Just a second. This is a live for you to feed, you know, and okay. Somebody reported my live session on TikTok. Somebody reported my live session. I don't know if it's a mushrik or somebody who hated the truth. They reported my live session on TikTok. I don't know for which reason, but I've appealed the decision, and thanks to God, they revoked that. Anyways, can you please reinstate your question clearly for me? I didn't get it clearly now because I was paying attention to the restriction. So can you bring your question over? Yeah.
My question is, I listened to your explanation on the verse, obey Allah and obey the Rasul, and I tried to follow exactly what you meant, but I don't think I quite understand what you are trying to say. Are you trying to say that the Rasul is Gabriel, the messenger, the one that brings the message? Is that what you're saying?
The Rasul, the human messenger, is the messenger of the messenger who first brought to him. So,
okay.
So when we say obey the messenger, number one, the human messenger was obeying the messenger who brought him the Quran. Number one. So the human messenger is now also delivering the message to us. We have to obey him. So when God says obey God and obey the messenger, you are simply obeying the messenger who has to do with the message only.
So are you saying any human can be a messenger? Is that what you're saying? So if you come
that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying any human being can be a messenger. I'm saying that the first of all, Gabriel brought the Quran. So he is acting as a messenger. So he needs to be obeyed. Now the human messenger obeyed him, and that human messenger is Muhammad, and he also delivered the Quran, and he has to be obeyed, meaning the delivery of the message, he has to be obeyed.
The delivery of the message, he has to be obeyed.
Yes.
What the? I'm not sure I quite understand what that means. The delivery.
Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can see your screen.
Okay, this is the screen. This is the verse I'm putting. I'm putting up a verse on the screen. So this is what the verse says. It says, "O you, the messenger, convey what has been revealed to you from your Lord. And if you do not, then you have not conveyed his message. Then he says, but God will protect you from the people. Indeed, God does not guide the disbelieving people. So can you see the verse?
Yes.
Okay. So now this messenger is delivering a message from God. But before he delivered it from God, he got it from Gabriel.
Yep.
So he obeyed Gabriel and he took the message, and now he is conveying that same message to us.
Ah, yes.
So
yes.
when we obey him, we are obeying the messenger and we are obeying God at the same time, because the message comes from God.
Ah, yes, I understand your point.
So that is the simplicity of the point here.
That is a very simple point. It seems like the orthodox understanding of that verse has a totally different meaning or a totally different consequence or a totally different implication to what you are saying it means. And
yes,
yes,
it does, because they actually interpolate certain understandings externally from the Quran.
Yes.
They don't let the book of guidance speak for itself, because if the Quran, the objective of the Quran is to serve as a guidance for mankind, not the Arabs, everybody. So everyone is meant to understand the message. So far as they can understand the language of the Quran, they are meant to understand the message.
Beautiful, beautiful.
You get the point? Yeah,
I get the point. Is there anything else in regards to this topic that I should know? Just about this one verse, or is that the?
It's a broader topic. I think I have a full lecture on it. By the way, I have a full lecture I did on this. If you happen to, that's my phone number on the screen. If you send me a WhatsApp message, I can actually send you a link to the video where you can check the breakdown of the video itself. I gave a lot of references pertaining to that. So the Quran actually gives us clarity on that. Like many a times what I do, people think I'm explaining the Quran. What I'm doing is not explaining the Quran. I'm only making it known to people who don't know it is there. So this is what I basically do. I'm going to show you on the verse on the screen. God says, indeed, those who conceal what we have revealed of the proofs and the guidance, after that which we have made clear in the book to the people, those are the ones whom God has cursed, and they are cursed by the curses.
Yep.
So the clarity has already been done by God. My duty is to make it known. Instead of concealing it, I just manifest it to the people so that they will see that God has already clarified his book. So I'm not doing some extra explanation by using my own words. No.
I agree. And what I have seen from yourself and Muhammad is you are using the Quran to explain the Quran. And I find that very authentic.
Yeah.
And it's really something that, it resonates with myself.
Yeah.
And it's not like other people that say that they're Quran only, but they just bring their own interpretations into it. So I thank you. I think that's very fair what you're doing.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. If you have any more question, one more question, then we can go.
For sure. Do you also reject all hadith, or are you like Muhammad? I think Muhammad says that he takes his worship and understanding and whatnot from the Quran only. But do you reject all hadith? Am I understanding that correct? Or are you someone that maybe says that they are there, I cannot trust it 100%, nor am I going to reject it 100%, but they are something that are just there?
You see, when we say guidance, the Quran is a book of guidance. So if you are a Muslim, the only place you have to take your guidance from is the Quran. Are you getting the point?
I understand that point.
Okay, good. But that doesn't mean if you say any logical statement, wherever it may come from, any logical statement, that doesn't mean I cannot agree with it.
Yes.
Are you getting my point? But
I get that point.
for our faith between us and God, for guidance, the book of God is sufficient. It's enough for my guidance to God.
Yes.
You see the point? So that's it. So when people say, do you reject hadith? Do you, if we have to go with that notion, then the Quran doesn't not even allow me to give that answer.
Yes.
And this is the verse on the screen. God says, these are the verses of God which we recite to you in truth. So in which hadith, after God and his verses, will they believe? Then it goes further, verse 7. Then it says, woe to every sinful liar. Verse 8, who hears the verses of God being recited to him, then insists arrogantly, as if he had not heard them. Therefore, announce to him of a painful punishment. Now, Brother Hussein, help me out. This question God is asking, can you answer it?
So let's go over it one more time. These are the verses of God which we recite to you in truth. So in which discourse after God and his verses will they believe? So in which discourse after God and his verses will they believe? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it has to be from God. So if the hadith is from God, I believe. The question is it from God?
Yeah. Short answer is no.
Yes. So
definitely
then
no.
That ends the argument there.
Yes. You
understand? But it doesn't mean if there's a logical statement there, I cannot agree. Agreeing to disagree is normal. I can agree with something. I say, okay, it makes sense. But does it mean I will implement it to my life? The answer is no.
Yes, I understand that point. Yes.
That's the point.
Yep. Beautiful, Baba. I guess. Okay. Beautiful. Yeah, there's a lot more I could talk about, but if we have to go, we will go.
Bring one more question, because I think I can use it to end the program. One more question.
Oof. Which way do I want to take this? Because I feel like you explain Salah very clearly. I feel like that has been explained many times to the people.
Yeah.
So I guess I would ask you what I asked Muhammad as well.
Okay.
Which was, so when you have, say, for example, hadith on predictions of the future or whatnot, you know, what they say the prophet is talking about technology or something, you know, and about like hadith of the end times, and I'm not saying all of them, but you know, things that have come to pass, and maybe, you know, it says like the prophet said people would be talking to their hips, and some people say that means the mobile phone and all this stuff. How do you view that?
I see it as predictions. I don't see it as prophecy. You see, the world has been designed in such a way that there are people who are in control of the way the world goes. So the people who are in control, they have set an agenda for future plans, for future events. So I give an example. Right now, we are in the year 2024. But a plan has already been made for football World Cup 2028 and 2032.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Now, these ones who are in charge of the way the world should go, according to the way they've set up the people, they make certain arrangements. So if somebody makes a prediction and says in 2028, this is going to happen, how can you know if they've actually sat behind the scenes and drafted everything according to their plans? How will you know?
If it comes to fulfill.
Yes.
You
get my point.
I get your point, and I also share that same thoughts and sentiment. I actually have come to that conclusion on my own. I agree with that. Yes.
Yeah. The reason why I'm saying that, look at I put a verse on the screen, right? This verse on the screen is in Quran chapter 47, verse 18. That is the chapter of the Prophet Muhammad. That is a chapter of Muhammad himself, Prophet Muhammad. 47, verse 18. Now, I'm going to give you a hint that whatever prophecies you are seeing now, if it's not coming from the Quran, it's a useless prophecy. And I'm going to tell you why. God says in the Quran at the time of Muhammad, he said, so are they waiting only for the hour to come to them surprisingly, while its portents have already come? So how will it be for them when their remembrance comes to them?
Wow.
So the portent of the hour we are waiting for, it has already come. It's already bygone. What we are waiting for is only what is established in the Quran, nothing else. Anything you are being told is a programming. The devils are in charge of those events. So they programmed it to make it believable to the people, thinking, oh, this is what the prophet said. This is what... No. The prophet cannot know beyond what God has inspired him from the Quran. And I'm going to give you an evidence to that after this verse. Now, I'm taking you to Quran chapter 7, verse 188. Now, this is the verse on the screen.
Yes.
It says, say. Then the messenger is speaking. He says, I do not control for myself any benefit nor harm except what God wills. And if I was aware of the unseen, I would have increased in welfare, and no evil will have touched me. Then he says, I am only a warner and a herald to a people who believe. Does that mean Prophet Muhammad is aware of the unseen? Apart from what God shows him from the Quran, does it mean he is aware of the unseen?
No, he's
So
not
now,
aware.
good. So now, how can they be contradicting the words of the Prophet by saying that this is another book which gives the prophecies from the Prophet? Then how come this same Prophet was not able to see that there will be Imam Bukhari, Imam Muslim, who will be writing books according to him and narrating it to the people? How come he wasn't able to say about these prophecies?
Because he was not shown that.
He wasn't shown. So is the Quran going to decide, not external books? The Quran has to decide that, because this is why he is speaking here. And if I was aware of the unseen, he is not.
Yes.
So anything external is a fabrication concocted by the devils. And I'm going to show you why it is coming from the devils. The answer is in Quran chapter 6, verse 112. Look what God says in this verse, so that you understand those things you are looking at is not from God and it's not from the Prophet. This is what God says. And thus have we made enemies for every prophet, devils of humans and jinns, inspiring to each other the decoration of delusive statement. And if your Lord had willed, they would not have what? Done it. So leave them and what they what? Fabricate. So do you see the fabrication?
Yes, for sure. Definitely.
So the idea is to delude the people, to make people believe in those sources, while it is not from the Prophet, but rather the enemies of the Prophet concocted those informations to make it believable, so that people will give credence by leaving the words of God. So now let me show you the contradiction in those prophecies. They said Jesus is coming, right?
Correct.
And he will live on earth for how many years? 40 years?
Yeah.
And he will kill the swine, right?
Yeah.
And then they said there's a man with one eye coming from Saudi Arabia, Medina. Dajjal is coming, right?
Yes.
So all these prophecies, that means today I can be having fun. I can decide to be a bad person, go and have sex and do whatever I want, because I know Jesus has to live 40 years and then he has to kill the swine before Judgment Day. So Judgment Day is not coming anytime from now, right?
Yeah.
So I can do whatever I want.
Yeah. I had the same thoughts.
Do you see the point? So
Us,
this is the
definitely.
trick of the devil. The idea of the devil is to delude people. It's delusion.
Yes.
So the delusional aspect, if it is not coming from God, you find discrepancies or contradictions. So those statements are full of contradictions. Again, they said that judgment day will happen on Friday. So please, if it is on Friday, right now I'm sitting here. I'm already in Thursday. Some countries are still in Wednesday.
Yeah, I get it, bro.
So if it's happened on the day of judgment day is on Friday, which of the Friday? Is it Friday of USA or Friday of Finland or Friday of Australia? Which of the Fridays?
Maybe Friday of Mars.
So everything they are telling you, I can dismantle all the argument from beginning to end.
Definitely.
Because it's not from God.
Yes, 100%. No, I had, you know, as a kid, and you're going through these lessons, and the teacher tells you them. You, as a kid, I knew that you could hear the contradictions in the lesson.
Yeah.
And you would think to yourself, it's contradicting. It can't be true. It's illogical. It can't be true.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad because of the internet, you know, the community, you can connect with like-minded people and you can get this information.
Yeah, sure.
Otherwise, I would have gone crazy.
Yes, that's the point. That's why God, for God being gracious and merciful, He make the internet accessible to people, for everybody. Because in the first place, how will people be able to reach me right now talking, if not because of the internet? And God made it possible for it to be here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Awesome, Baba.
Okay. We give you one more chance. You can ask one more question because people are learning. Give me one more question before you go.
Which way do you want to take this conversation? Maybe you have something for me, or there's a question that you can ask me, and we can all learn from something.
If I have to ask you a question, then we are going to take a longer time to finish.
Hey, okay. I guess I'll ask you on how do you view, for example, Imam Malik's methodology on the living tradition, whereas he does not use hadith as a justification, but rather the observation of the people who saw the Prophet performing such and such actions. I don't think I really had a satisfactory answer from Muhammad on this issue, but maybe you have some other thoughts.
Yeah, you see, my objections to what the scholars always tell people, or the books that scholars have written that actually go contrary to what the Quran says. Even the scholars themselves, most of them say, if their words goes against the Quran, cast their words out, right?
Yes, correct.
Now, as far as it goes to the notion of telling you stories of they themselves that they never witnessed, like if somebody's writing a book and is telling you a story of somebody he or she never witnessed, there's always a question mark in between. The question mark in between is who is the narrator and who is the writer. Always, that's the question one should ask. If you can be able to decipher between who is the narrator and who is the writer, whatever you are reading will now make sense to you. So that is why the Quran is unique. Some people will say the Arabs concocted the Quran. If the Arabs concocted the Quran, they will never tolerate verses which is talking against them in the Quran.
Yes.
Number two, if the Prophet was the one who concocted the Quran, he would take verses which are warning him out of the Quran, like chapter 66, verse 1, warning him concerning why did he forbid what God has made lawful. If he was the author, he would have taken it out. Meaning, if he was his own author, without God like sending it over, he will have edited a lot of things out of the Quran. So the Quran is a unique book where you take the first verses of the Quran, you see Alif Lam Mim. No book on earth does that. Start with
Yeah.
initials, telling you A, L, M. Like, which human being would do that? You understand? So the uniqueness of the message of the Quran, unlike what the scholars will be telling you concerning stories about people, about, understand, the Quran is not here to tell you about the Arab culture or Arab history. The Quran is there to give people who never received guidance.
Yes.
That's the beauty of the Quran. So when we lose this terrain, that is when the Quran doesn't become sufficient, then we go depending on scholars. This is where the deviance comes in. Because we think the Quran is not enough. So then we go looking elsewhere. Tell me, is there any better example out there that can be given to you by any prominent scholar or practitioner of religion more than the prophets?
No.
No. So that they are the role models. They are the examples we have to take, the prophets. So why will I look beyond the prophets and going to look up to a scholar? For what?
Correct. I understand. Yes.
Because the moment I'm looking at a scholar, like I'm belittling what God is telling me now in the Quran, instead of looking at what God is saying, instead of going to look at a scholar. The scholar I'm looking at never met the prophet. Why should I look up to him? I would rather check the facts and proofs he can present for me to also examine and study to either be like him or better than him.
Yep.
So people like Imam Malik, Hanafi, Hanbali, Shafi'i, they will only give you their opinions and their point of view. So it's all about perspective.
Yep. I guess the reason I brought up Imam Malik is because of his methodology is significantly different to Imam Shafi'i's and Imam Ahmad's.
Yes.
And whereas, okay, so I guess from how I view it is that if there is someone who maybe they're not into reading and studying and they're just, a laborer, they will follow the opinions of such as someone like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. I know. That's why he has the large following among all the scholars. Normally, Imam Maliki gets the I think the problem is because there's a barrier between us and the Quran, and people have put the barrier, especially the scholars did that. They put the barrier between us and the Quran. So if we are not able to bypass the barrier the scholars have put for us, we are always going to be in limbo.
Definitely.
Yes, because they are only left. Yeah.
I definitely, as I went on this journey of learning, there is something implanted in your own head that says to not read the Quran for whatever reason. I don't know where it came from.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it was a hurdle. It was something I literally had to mentally get over.
Yeah.
And once you get over it, it's like being washed with water and you've been dirty for 20 years,
Exactly.
Yeah, no, it's
exactly.
beautiful.
No,
what Alif Lam Mim, just because you mentioned it, it just sparked a thought. What do you make of those words?
If you go to Quran chapter 27, verse 1, it gives you the clue of what the signs mean. Now, first of all, what you need to put in your head is what you are seeing as initials, they are symbols of the Quran. And the word ayah, the word you see ayat or ayah in the Quran, it can mean signs, it can mean symbols, it can mean verses, it can mean miracles, and so on. Right? Now let's check the example of 27. It says, Ta Sin. Exactly after mentioning this, then it says, Tilka. It says, these are signs of the Quran and a clear book. So we know the Quran is written within a book. That is what makes it a book. Right? And in order to understand that further, let me give you this verse. Chapter 56, verse 77. This is the further elaboration on that. In Quran chapter 56, verse 77, it says, indeed, it is a noble reading. The word Quran, it means reading. So
Yes.
indeed, what we are reading is a noble reading. Then he says, Fi kitabim maknun, in a protected book. The reason why it is protected because it has numbers. Anything you write and you give it numbers has protection.
Yeah. Okay.
You get my point. Then God went further to say, none will grasp it except the purified. So it is not literally talking about touching by the hands. It means grasping the book, to grasp what is in the book.
Yes.
Because it's clearly says it indeed it is a honorable or noble reading. So we all know why people read books. You read book in order to grasp what is in the book. That's why we read books. Because if not that, why will I read a book? The idea of reading a book is to grasp what is in the book. So that is why God put the reading into a book so that we can grasp what is there. So it is only the purified ones that can go for the resources inside the book to benefit from. So then God is now saying a revelation from the Lord of the worlds. That is verse 80. So then it went ahead to say, so is it about this hadith you are compromising? So this is what the God called hadith, the Quran. He calls the Quran the hadith. But when we listen to the scholars out there, they will keep telling you the hadith, 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 and you think it is something else other than the Quran.
Okay,
So
this is my first time coming across this. Okay.
Exactly. So this is the hadith that the Prophet delivered. This book, that is the hadith. This hadith is he delivered this one. And I can prove it with several verses to back it up. You see? So now, this is the book. Now, when you open the book, and I take you back to 27 verse 1, it's going to tell you what the signs you are seeing in the book, what they signify. So, for example, it tells you Thasin. Now, it just mentioned initials, and then it doesn't say anything. Then it started saying Tilka, Ayatul Quran wa Kitabim Mubin. Now, it says these are signs, or we can say symbols of the Quran and a clear writing. So now what else does a human being need from this? When God says they are the symbols of the book, or they are the signs of the book.
Right. Silly question.
Yeah.
Symbols and signs. What is it telling me? Do you mean the letters? And it forming Arabic words? Is that correct? Or I don't understand what that sign means.
Okay. Now, are you aware that the symbol, even though they are symbols, but they have numbers? They have been numbered as a verse.
Yes.
And whichever Quran you take all over the world, you see these initials there.
Yes.
What does that tell you? Have you ever come across any Quran and you never saw this? You never seen those initials?
No. However, I don't know if the early versions, what did they have?
They do.
Okay.
That's why it's the Quran. That is the signature of the Quran. This Quran is the only book when you lift it up and you read the first verse, the first line, people will know only the Quran has that.
Right. Okay. Yes.
You understand? So it's a sign. It's something which gives you. It's just like when we say, when the rain is about to fall, there's a sign with which the clouds bring forth, right? So when you see the sign of the clouds, you know that rain is about to fall. And similarly, the Quran, only the Quran has the symbols, the signs on top of it. Because tell me, which ordinary human being will write a book and then just write Alif Lam Mim for what? That's the difference. And the reason why God is saying bring a book like it or a chapter like it, you can never get somebody who will write a book, a verse, a chapter like the Quran. It doesn't exist. Let me tell you why nobody can challenge that. If somebody says he's going to bring a chapter like the Quran, I give you an example. What is the first chapter of the Quran, of the book? Chapter 1, right?
Yeah.
Fatiha. Do you know what it starts with? Do you know the first verse of Fatiha?
Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen.
No.
Bismillah.
Good. It starts with Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. So now let's say you are going to bring a chapter like the Quran, like the Fatiha alone. Let's say you are going to bring a chapter like it. In whose name are you going to start with?
Author's name. The author's name?
So
yes.
Whose name can you bring other than Allah? Because anybody you bring is subservient to God. Anyone you write his name is subservient to God. And your book will contain contradictions because it has not been authorized by who? By God.
Yes.
Yes. So that is why God put forth the challenge. People think, oh, I just need to create a book and then say it looks like the Quran. That's what they think the challenge was. There's a wisdom behind the challenge. You can never, because you can never even bypass the first verse. When God says bring a verse like it, because the first verse you fail. Because are you also going to write Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim? Is it authorized by God? We are going to examine it for contradiction. And you can never survive.
Okay, beautiful. Okay. I think I will have to watch it again. You know, it takes a couple viewings for it to settle in. But beautiful, Baba.
Thank you very much, my brother. Thank you for your time. I think I gave you like 35 minutes.
Yeah.
Time. Yeah. So you have gotten a lecture that it takes me hours on days to give some people on the phone. So you are lucky enough to get it live. But people are benefiting from this as well. So thanks to God that you came at the right time. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yes, we keep in touch. Peace. So ladies and gentlemen, I think this is where I have to bring the topic to an end. That is Brother who called in, and I know the discussion we had has been beneficial to all of you, mostly. So Chris says, Salam, I remember I asked you about Tashkil, if they added it and you said no. What we have you mean what we have is what the Prophet had? Is that a question? And he says, do you hold the same position? Do you think Tashkil Hamza has been added as per Sunnis say, or no? The point is, let me answer your question. The Quran was revealed to the Prophet. This is what God told the Prophet. Quran chapter 6, verse 114. Now, if you have matters like this and you want to judge, you have to use God as your judge. So let's go and use God, right? Let's not look at it from a human perspective. It is the scholars of outside scholars telling you that the Tashkil was added after later on. The scholars are now telling you that. But let's go to the book of guidance. What is God saying? So I'm going to take you to this page. Check what God says in this verse. It says, so shall I seek a judge other than God, while he is the one who has revealed to you the book, explained in detail, and those to whom we gave the book know that it has been revealed from your Lord in truth. So do not be of the doubters. Then it says, and the word of your Lord is complete in truth and justice. There is no alteration to his words, for he is the hearing and the omniscient. Now, I want you to pay attention to where it says there is no alteration to his words. Pay attention to that. For he is the hearing, the omniscient. Pay attention to that. Now, when we started from verse 114, it says, shall I seek a judge? So now, we are not supposed to seek any judge concerning this issue. Now, let's examine based on the verses God is talking about. So, the verse is referencing to the prophet. It says, the word of your Lord is complete in truth and justice. So the word of your Lord is complete, right? So now let's check. How was the Quran revealed to the Prophet? Quran chapter 35, verse 31 to 32. Chapter 35, verse 31. This is what it says. And it says, and what we have inspired to you of the book is the truth, confirming what was before it. Indeed, God to his servant is cognizant and conversant. Then it goes ahead. Then we transmit the book to those we have chosen among our servants. Then among them is one who wrongs himself, and among them is one who is careful, and among them is one who competes in what? In good deeds, by the permission of God. That is a great preference. Now, what I want you to examine is, I just quoted chapter 35, verse 31 to 32. You can see that God inspired the Quran to the Prophet, and it has to be written down. So in terms of writing it down, they will only write it down in their time, the version they have, or the language in which the way they write their language. That is how they will write it in their time. Pay close attention to the answer I'm going to give now. At the time of the Prophet, if they have to write the Quran down, it was revealed as a revelation and inspiration. If they have to write it down, they will only write it down in the way they have to write their own calligraphy, the font, or the way the style of writing. They will write it down according to their timeline. That same book, God didn't say the Prophet should hand over that written book to the generations after him, nor did he say give it to the people. What God said is, then we will cause the book to be inherited. So the question is, how did God cause the Prophet to inherit the book? By inspiration and revelation. Now the same God is going to choose servants to inherit the book. So it is not the version that Prophet had in his hand that has been passed down generations to us. God never said that. God will cause his servant to inherit the book. If he has been able to let the Prophet inherit the book, which did not come from the sky, but it was written, the same God can let it be written again based on inspiration and revelation. Because as a matter of fact, you never find a verse in the Quran where God is telling the people to preserve the Quran or pass down the Quran generation after generation. He never said that. So I'm going to show you something on the screen here. Give me a minute. Now you see this. Do you see this? This is the manuscripts of the Quran. So I'm going to show you something. Throughout time and memoria, based on the timeline, you see how people write their calligraphy. Timeline, it keeps going. Then it goes based on timeline. Based on timeline. Is it? You can see. Based on timeline, right? And I'm going to show you how it evolves till it goes by time, with time, right? Based on the people and timeline. Do you see how it evolves? It goes throughout timelines. I can go on and on and on and on and on. How it goes throughout timelines, and I have the dates for all of this. It goes throughout timeline and based on geography also, the geographical locations also. Then it evolves, it keeps coming down to the timeline, you see. Different timelines and how it is written. I can go on and on and on because it's a big book that has all the history till it got to our time. So I'm going to show you till our time how it started changing till our time. And all the reference throughout time and memorial. Then now finally we get to our generation. This is our generation. So this is the records coming from I want to give you one information here. Coming from published in the United Kingdom by Touch Editions Limited, 74 Stopford Road, St. Helier, Jesse. It's a book's concept by Touch Editions creative director Dr. Azawi. Text by D. James, edited by Edward Gibbs and David. So it has the copyright edition. Now, I specially was given this as a gift, right, by a lovely brother. But what I want you to understand is, it is God who caused his book to be inherited. So, meaning how it should be written, it doesn't matter whether at the time of the prophet it was written this or this. We never saw it at the time of the prophet. But because God will cause the book to be inherited, every timeline has the way they write their version based on their timeline. So the timeline we are based in, the way it should be written will not all look the same as it was written in the time of the prophet. So if somebody tells you that there was no Tashkil, ask him the simple question. Did he see the timeline of the prophet, how it was written with his eyes? Has he seen it with his eyes? The answer is no. It is God who caused the book to be inherited. Now we have inherited the Quran. The only book claiming to be from God is the Quran. Quran chapter 10, verse 37. This is what God says. وَمَا كَانَ هَذَا الْقُرْآنَ أَنْ يُفْتَرَى مِنْ دُونِ اللَّهِ ولكن تصديق الذي بين يديه وتفصيل الكتاب لا ريب فيه من رب العالمين. This is what God says. And this is not the Quran that could be invented by other than God. However, it is a confirmation of what was before it and an elaboration of the book. There is no doubt therein from the Lord of the worlds. So now, if I have received the book, mine is just to examine the book. Is it from God? Fine, I follow it. If it's not from God, you put it aside. So this is what God says in Quran chapter 18 verse 29. This is what he says. He says, وَقُلِ الْحَقُّ مِنْ رَبِّكُمْ فَمَنْ شَاءَ فَلْيُؤْمِنْ وَمَنْ شَاءَ فَلْيَكْفُرْ. And say, the truth is from your Lord. Whoever wills, let him believe. And whoever wills, let him disbelieve. It is not by force. That is the point. As a matter of fact, God never told the Arabs or the Prophet or his Sahaba to preserve the Quran. He never said it's their duty to preserve. So don't disturb yourself and say, oh, the one the Prophet was having, is it the same we have now? The God who revealed the same Quran to Muhammad is not asleep. Yes. You get the point. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me drop this topic here for now so that I can move on to TikTok. It's almost 2 hours, 30 minutes. Thank you all for your time. Yes, thank you very much, Naurin Pokoyo. You're welcome. And this is where I'll bring the topic to an end. If you are hoping to join me on TikTok, you're welcome. I will be there maybe 1 hour or two. So, as Farad says, thank you for your time. Yes, thank you very much. You are welcome. Chris says, all right, thank you. I believe we had same calligraphy as him. Well, God never said anywhere that this is the same calligraphy. Or when we say sunnatullah, it doesn't mean calligraphy. It doesn't mean writing. Writing has nothing to do with sunnah. Writing has nothing to do with calligraphy. Sunnah has nothing to do with calligraphy. You understand? Fine. But if you want to believe it that way, no problem. He says the sunnah of Allah doesn't change, not in this aspect. We are not talking about the words of God being changed. We are talking about timeline. If you give somebody a message, let's say you are okay, let me use English as an example. You see in the timeline of Romeo and Juliet, William Shakespeare, in the timeline, he wrote the book called Romeo and Juliet, right? If in that timeline, God was supposed to reveal a book in English language, it will only be based in the English language in the timeline of William Shakespeare, in his timeline, in that year. It will be based in that form of English written. Because right now, if you take William Shakespeare, Romeo and Juliet book, and you are reading it in this modern day English, it will make no sense. So now, if God has to reveal that message in our timeline, it has to be based in our modern day English. So it will be written in the modern day English. You understand? In order to make sense. So I'm talking about the timeline, the way it was revealed. If the prophet's time, maybe they are writing it without Tashkil, don't expect it to God to reveal it in this timeline and say, oh no, it shouldn't be like that. Hey, Shenzi, you are my biggest hater for what? My biggest haters, they don't survive. If you are my hater, you never survive. No. Correctional officer will never leave you alone in peace. You go and ask my haters. Anybody who is my hater, they will... Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. I'm going to TikTok now. You can join me. I appreciate your time. Thank you all for those who participated. And thank you, Salis Jimmy. I see you. Muktabul is saying salam to you. Peace to you, brother. Long time. Fatima Chin, Real Mishizi Sniper, Rizal Zander. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time. Yes. Chris. Yes, no problem. Masih say no creature come down from heaven in written form. Maybe the 10 commandments, as we have to be wise to realize what is of God and what is not. Thanks for your input. Thank you very much, Masih Muslim. You're welcome. Thank you very much, JS, Sharif Karim, Abu Suleiman, Abu Idris. Hey, Abu, long time, bro. Thank you all, ladies and gentlemen. Nara Power, thank you. I appreciate the support. I'm moving to TikTok. If you want to have fun, to see the Mushriks join me, you're welcome. Till we meet again next week. This is where I say peace to you all.